Right. Ever feel like strapping on a hard hat and like diving headfirst into some serious machinery?
Well, get ready.
Because today, we're tackling Container Equipment Assembly Supervisor interview prep.
We're talking boilers, pressure vessels, the whole 9 yards.
And we've got your back with a career guide, some seriously tough interview questions.
And even some AI tricks up our sleeve from our friends over at RoleCatcher to help you snag that job.
It's more interesting than it sounds, trust me.
What's fascinating here is just how important this role is becoming.
For real.
It's not just about knowing the equipment inside and out, right?
Right.
It's about leadership, it's about safety, and it's about navigating these increasingly automated workplaces.
Totally.
And those, my friend, are the key things to hit hard in your interview.
You read my mind. So before we even get to those interview questions, let's break down what a Container Equipment Assembly Supervisor actually does day to day. It's more than just like overseeing assembly, right?
Oh, absolutely. Think of it like you're orchestrating a really complex operation.
Okay.
Making sure every single piece, I'm talking materials, team members, everything works together perfectly.
Wow.
You're responsible for safety, for quality control, training, hitting those production targets.
Intense.
It can be a very demanding job, often with long hours.
Yeah,
But the demand and the potential salary definitely reflect that.
that's true. High demand means lots of competition, though.
Right.
That's where RoleCatcher comes in, yeah. I've used it to find jobs, but it can actually help you, like, prep for the interview, too.
Exactly. Let's say a job description, really emphasizes experience with these robotic welding systems.
Okay.
Something a lot of candidates might just kind of gloss over. RoleCatcher's AI, it's amazing, actually. It pinpoints those keywords and then suggests ways to work them into your answers.
Oh, wow.
Even if you don't have, direct experience, you can show you're at least aware of these industry trends.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's like having a secret weapon to crack the code of what interviewers are really looking for. Speaking of which, let's tackle some of those real-world interview questions you shared with me.
Let's do it.
First up, tell us about your experience with container equipment assembly. Seems simple enough, but what are they really trying to get at here?
They want you to connect the dots for them.
Okay.
Don't just rattle off past jobs. You've got to highlight specific projects, the equipment you've actually worked with.
All right.
Anything that directly lines up with their needs.
Makes sense.
Like, did you oversee the assembly of, say, a specific type of pressure vessel?
Right.
Mention it. Don't make them guess.
It's about tailoring your experience, showing them you're a perfect fit for what they need.
Exactly.
RoleCatcher can help with that, right?
Totally. Input the job description, and RoleCatcher will actually suggest which of your skills to emphasize for that specific role.
Whoa.
It's like having a custom-tailored opening statement ready to go.
That's amazing. Okay, so question 2 dives into safety. How do you ensure that assembly processes are completed efficiently, A and D safely?
Feels like a bit of a balancing act.
It is. They want to hear how you reconcile those two things, efficiency and safety, which, yeah, can sometimes be at odds. Don't just say, I follow procedures.
You're right.
Give them a real example. Maybe you spotted a potential hazard, someone wasn't wearing their safety glasses properly or something. Explain not just how you handled that instance, but how you actually revised the protocol so it wouldn't happen again.
So it's less about saying I follow the rules and more about showcasing how you actively promote safety, even when it means going above and beyond.
Exactly. It shows you're not just ticking boxes. You're truly invested in making sure everyone goes home safe every day.
Love that. Now, the third question focuses on, let's be honest, something we've all dealt with, conflict. Can you describe a time you had to resolve a conflict among team members?
Oh, yeah. Especially in like a high pressure environment like manufacturing. It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
This question always feels like a trap, though.
It can.
Like they want you to badmouth a coworker or something.
Right, which is why focusing on the process is key.
Yeah.
Instead of naming names, describe the steps you took. Like, did you figure out what was really driving the conflict?
Right.
Did you facilitate a conversation, get everyone on the same page? The goal here is to highlight your leadership and your communication skills, not to rehash some big drama.
So walk them through your process, focusing on how you helped everyone move forward.
Exactly.
This next question feels like it's straight from a supervisor's playbook. How do you ensure your team is meeting production targets and deadlines?
This is where you prove you're not just managing tasks, you're managing people.
Okay, I like that.
Anyone can bark orders, but a good supervisor, they know how to motivate their team to succeed. Did you put a new workflow system in place that made everyone more efficient?
Oh, good one.
Did you make it a point to recognize and reward successes, keep morale up?
Right. So it's about strategy and leadership, not just like cracking the whip. I bet RoleCatcher has some good insights on this one too.
Oh, for sure. They've got a database of successful strategies that real-life supervisors in similar roles have actually used.
Wow.
You can use those as inspiration for your own answer and show you're in the loop on what actually works.
So smart. Okay, this next one feels like a bit of a curveball. Can you tell us about a time you had to make a difficult decision related to assembly processes or equipment? What are they hoping to uncover here?
It's about judgment and how you handle pressure.
Oh, okay.
The key is not just describing the decision itself, but walking them through your process. Did you gather all the information you needed? Did you get input from experts?
Good points.
The important thing is to explain your thought process, even if it wasn't like the popular choice.
So even if the outcome wasn't perfect, showcasing your thoughtful, careful decision-making process is crucial. All right, question 6 feels very relevant to today's fast-changing world. How do you ensure your team members have the necessary skills and knowledge to complete their tasks effectively?
It goes way beyond just basic training. It's about creating this culture of continuous improvement.
I like that.
Have you championed specialized training programs, mentored team members, maybe even set up a system for everyone to share best practices and what they've learned?
It's about showing you're invested in your team's growth, not just checking off boxes.
Exactly.
All right, on to question 7. Can you describe a time you had to implement changes to assembly processes or equipment? This feels especially relevant in today's rapidly evolving manufacturing landscape.
Absolutely. And they're looking for someone who's adaptable, who takes initiative.
Right.
Choose an example where you saw a way to make things better, not just reacting to a problem. Did you advocate for a new technology that really streamlined the whole assembly line? Or maybe you pushed for a workflow change that reduced waste?
So it's about being a driver of positive change, not just going with the flow.
Exactly.
All right, let's take a pause here for a breath. When we come back, we'll tackle those last few questions and make sure you're totally ready to rock that interview. Don't go anywhere. And we're back, ready to tackle those last few container equipment assembly supervisor interview questions.
Let's do it. These last few can be a little,
Tricky.
Yeah, a little more nuanced, let's say.
Okay, good to know. This next one definitely feels like it requires some finesse. Can you tell us about a time you had to deal with a situation where safety procedures weren't being followed?
Right.
Feels like a potential minefield.
It is a test. They want to know, are you going to throw someone under the bus? Or are you going to show leadership and a really commitment to finding solutions?
So how do you walk that tightrope? Give a vague answer. Plead the fifth.
Definitely not. Be specific, but focus on the systems, not individuals.
Okay.
So instead of saying, Joe didn't wear his hard hat, you say, I noticed some inconsistencies in our safety logs, and I discovered that a really crucial check wasn't being done consistently. So I retrained the team, and then I implemented a buddy system to make sure we had more accountability.
So you're highlighting the issue, you're highlighting your solution, but you're emphasizing that system-wide approach to safety.
Exactly. It shows you take safety seriously without, making it personal.
Smart.
Now, speaking of tricky situations, this next question. This one throws a curveball that comes up all the time in the workplace. How do you handle a situation where you need to meet this tight deadline, but you're facing, unexpected delays or challenges?
That's way too familiar. Deadlines and unexpected challenges seem to go hand in hand. What are they looking for in an answer here?
They want to see that you can think on your feet. You can prioritize, you can communicate effectively, even when you're under pressure.
Right.
I mean, anyone can panic when a project goes sideways.
Oh, yeah.
But a good leader, a good supervisor, they take charge.
So it's less about magically making the problem disappear and more about demonstrating a strategic approach to dealing with it.
Exactly. So instead of saying, I'd work all night to catch up, which, let's be honest, isn't always realistic or even sustainable,
True.
You walk them through your process. First, I identified the absolute critical path. Then, I reassigned tasks that could be put on hold without impacting the quality. And finally, I made sure to communicate that adjusted timeline to everyone involved.
You've shown that you can assess, adapt, and communicate clearly even when things get tough.
Right.
And that's gold in any supervisory role.
Absolutely.
Now on to our final question. It's an important one. How do you stay up to date on the latest industry trends and technologies related to container equipment assembly? I'm guessing this goes beyond like skimming a trade magazine every now and then, right?
Absolutely. This is where you get to show your passion for the field and, your commitment to always learning and growing.
Right, okay.
So think beyond the obvious. Attending conferences, that's great, but
Oh,
also mention if you regularly read industry publications, if you're part of any online forums, if you take those specialized training courses,
oh yeah?
maybe you even visit other manufacturing facilities to see what they're doing. Benchmark those best practices.
It's like you said earlier, the industry is becoming so much more automated. Showing you're keeping up with things like those robotic welding systems, even just by reading about them, shows you're really invested in the future of this whole field.
Exactly. Mention some specific advancements that have caught your eye. Maybe you've been following the development of new lighter weight materials for pressure vessels, or what about the latest safety regulations for those automated systems? The key is to demonstrate that you're not just keeping up, you're ahead of the curve.
That's really insightful. It shows real initiative and a genuine interest in the field, not just trying to, check a box. Okay, before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher. We've talked about how it can help you tailor your answers and everything.
Yeah.
But can you give us a little more detail? I'm sure our listeners would love to know how to use this, secret weapon to their advantage.
You got it. So remember, RoleCatcher isn't just about finding jobs, it's about landing them. Their AI, it can actually analyze job descriptions and highlight the specific skills, even the key words that employers are looking for. Use that info to fine-tune your answers, make sure you're speaking their language,
It's like having a personal assistant who preps you for each interview and points out things you might have totally missed.
Exactly. And don't forget about their interview practice feature. You can record yourself answering these common questions, and RoleCatcher will give you this AI-powered feedback on everything, your body language, the content of your answers, everything.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal interview coach available 24/7. Okay, before we move on to our big takeaway, there's one more thing I want to touch on. That career guide you shared mentioned a really interesting example of, a junior supervisor who moved up the ranks.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about their trajectory and how that connects to what we've been talking about today?
Absolutely. This person, they started as an assembly technician, mastering those hands-on aspects of the job.
Got it.
From there, they moved into a team lead role where they got their first taste of supervising others. And then from there, they progressed to junior supervisor, taking on even more responsibility for safety, for quality control, meeting those production targets, all those things we've been talking about with these interview questions.
So it's a perfect example of how the skills we're talking about can really translate into real-world career advancement.
Right.
They didn't just jump straight from technician to senior management, right?
Right.
They gained experience. They honed those essential skills every step of the way.
Exactly. And it's interesting. The guide also highlights how this person actively sought out additional training opportunities, including a certification in advanced automation technologies. That proactive approach, that commitment to learning and development, that's what really helped them stand out and ultimately move up to a senior supervisory position.
That's so valuable for our listeners to hear. It's not just about getting the job. It's about having a plan for growth and development within that role.
Sure.
Okay, I'm ready for that big takeaway.
Yeah.
What's something we haven't explicitly discussed yet, something that'll really get our listeners thinking about the bigger picture here?
Here's something to consider. The manufacturing industry is changing rapidly. Automation, AI, advanced materials, it's all shaping the future of how things are made. As you're preparing for this interview, think about how you can be a part of that evolution.
Ooh, I like that. It's not just about fitting into the role as it exists today, but about how you can help shape its future. That's such a powerful way to stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we get too carried away, discussing the future of manufacturing, let's bring it back to the here and now.
Sounds good. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. We've really dug deep into what it takes to be a container equipment assembly supervisor, from the day-to-day stuff to that career path, and of course, how to totally ace that interview with a little help from our friends over at RoleCatcher.
They're great.
I hope our listeners are feeling as pumped up and prepared as I am.
Me too. And remember, it's not just about answering the questions perfectly, right? It's about showcasing your passion, your leadership, your commitment to safety and quality.
Beautifully said. All right, on to part 3, where we'll leave you with some final thoughts and maybe even a few more of those interview secrets. Stay tuned. We're back, and we're wrapping up our container equipment assembly supervisor interview prep. We've hit on the day-to-day, the career path.
Right.
But before we send you off to land that dream job, I wanted to touch on something that often gets overlooked, those first impressions.
So important. Think of it this way. Your resume and cover letter, that's your opening act.
Okay.
You want to make sure they're just as impressive as your interview performance itself.
And that's where RoleCatcher comes in again, right?
Great guy, got it. Don't just blast out some generic resume and cross your fingers. Use RoleCatcher's AI.
Yeah.
Tailor those documents to the specific job description they've got. Their algorithms are wild. They can analyze what those employers are really looking for, and then actually suggest ways to make your most relevant skills jump off the page.
So it's like having a professional resume writer on speed dial.
Exactly. And hey, while you're at it, take advantage of RoleCatcher's career pathing tools. Maybe this whole deep dive has you thinking. Maybe container equipment assembly supervisor is just one step on an even bigger, more exciting career journey, right?
Right. I love that. It's not just about getting a job. It's about finding a path that you're genuinely excited about. But for right now, let's get you ready to nail this interview. If you could give our listeners just one piece of advice, something to carry with them into that interview room, what would it be?
Be yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, prepare, know your stuff, obviously, but don't be afraid to let your personality shine through.
Yeah.
Let them see your passion for this field, because they're not just looking for someone who can, like, answer questions by the book, you know?
Right.
They want someone who's truly enthusiastic, someone who's eager to learn and grow on the job.
Authenticity is so important. It's about connecting with the interviewers on a human level,
Yes.
showing them who you really are, beyond just a list of skills and experience.
100%. And that, my friend, is what will make you memorable. That's what helps you actually land that job.
Love it. Expert advice, as always. Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored everything about becoming a container equipment assembly supervisor, from those daily tasks to the career possibilities, and of course, how to absolutely crush that interview.
With a little help from RoleCatcher.
Exactly. So remember, the manufacturing world needs passionate, dedicated people like you.
That's right.
So go out there, be confident, be prepared,
Be yourself.
and be sure to let us know how it goes. Until next time, happy job hunting.